conversation with presented by Prism IIT Jammu. Guten Abend. Ich heiße Pallav. Wie heißen Sie?
Ich heiße Markus Meyer.
So, wie geht's Ihnen?
Danke, sehr gut.
So, well, that was all the German I knew, and now we'll be beginning with the interview in English.
Yeah.
So, sir, could you please tell us about yourself and what educational background do you have and how you have currently moved on to the field you are working in?
Yeah, I'm married and I have two daughters. I studied chemistry and biology as a high school teacher. So my personal favorite at the time was biology, plant ecology. So therefore I did also my diploma about European orchids. But yes, biology is something interesting, but sometimes a little bit hard to earn money with it. And therefore I decided then afterwards to do my PhD in chemistry. And there I did my PhD in physical chemistry about the characterization and synthesis of aerogels. And at that time, that was my first point of contact already with material characterization.
Okay, so sir, could you tell us more about your field, what you're currently working on?
Immediately after I had finished my PhD at the university, I went to NETZSCH Germany. We have there quite big research and application laboratory where we studied all kind of materials coming from the customers. And at that time, I was responsible for mechanical testing, meaning for dynamic mechanical analysis, DMA, but also for thermal expansion, dilatometers. Then during 5 years when I was in the laboratory, I was measuring, I think, thousands of soundings coming from polymers, elastomers, but also metal, ceramics, food. Sometimes there were also some funny things like a 2,000-year-old stone from the Romans in Italy, all those things. So I think during these 5 years, I got a good overview on what the customers are asking for, or the research, and always been also knowing what is the current trend. And it means we were at that time, or I'm still not a specialist on a certain material, but on certain techniques. So I know how to apply this technique in the best way so that you get best measurement results out of it.
Okay, so sir, since you're from a research background, so do you notice any difference between the research that takes place over there in Germany and what happens here in India?
Yeah, what happens in the past, of course, the universities maybe had less money and then they focused only on one technique. They bought maybe one DSC and they were the specialists in DSC. Nowadays, I think it's more and more that the departments use a lot of different techniques. So they characterize the materials, what they study, from different directions with different methods. And that means it's more important not only to be a specialist for one technique, but also to get a good overview for material characterization. This has changed drastically. That in the past, again, there were departments doing only thermal analysis, and nowadays the material characterization is much more in that way that you use a lot of different techniques characterize.
Okay, so what are your views on this evolution? Like, do you take it in a positive way or somewhat in a negative?
Both. Of course, it is interesting to see how when you look from different directions to a material for a full understanding, but sometimes I have also the feeling that if you do a lot of things, you don't know the individual methods that accurate. That means the quality of some measurement data over the time is going down, what we see. So when I get measurement results back from the customer, I say, oh, there may be some possibilities to improve. And on the other hand, they have this different angle of view from different techniques. So yes, since sometimes we feel that the quality of knowledge for a certain technique is decreasing, but the knowledge of different techniques, of course, is increasing. So it's hard to say what is better. You have to find a good compromise between all.
Okay, so now we talked about the differences between Germany and India. So what are your views about what policies we are making to bridge that gap? How are we doing that?
I can tell you, when I did my study, all of the presentations, all of the lectures were German. That means at that time, exchange on the student level was more or less impossible because only a few Indians speak a little bit German. And maybe later on in the master or during PhD, it changed. There was more in English. And this is the trend now that a lot of lectures are already now given in English. And we see there's a lot of more exchange between the universities. So now it's very common that a German student stays maybe half a year in India or somewhere else to learn the culture, but also to study there. And on the other hand, we have also a lot of Indian students in our area. So there's the Hochschule Hof. They have a cooperation with India, where they have really a lot of Indians coming, and they also learn German. But most of the lectures are given also in English in the meantime. I think this is the big changes over the last years, that English is getting more and more common, of course, also in the universities.
Okay, so talking about universities, do you notice any key differences between the German university and the Indian universities?
Especially in nature science, like in chemistry and physics, I think in India it's more crowded. There's very hard competition because of the students. There are many students want to go in this direction. And in Germany, there's a lack of students. Maybe also as a disadvantage, the quality of knowledge is dropping down, because at the end of the day, the professors are happy to get TED students so that they can continue with the research. So a completely very high competitive situation here in India, where you need already a high ranking during the exams to get in a good university. And I think the big difference also in between India and Germany is, I think, the image of the IITs. So an Indian image of IITs is very high ranked. So everybody wants to go there and wants to study there. In Germany, or at least I have the feeling, it's not so important where you did your study, in which university. You decide by other factors. You decide if it's maybe close to your home, if you like the city, or if maybe the university has specialized in a special topic where you have interest in. So it's not driven that much by the name of the university, more by your personal interests. I think this is still a big difference between Germany and India. Your main goal is really to get in a high-ranked university, because then afterwards your chances are higher. And when I'm in a situation in the company and we need somebody to support me in sales as scientist, of course I'm looking where he has studied. But for me, it's not important if he has studied from Munich or Hannover or Nuremberg. At the end, it's more important what he has studied and what is his key competences.
Okay. So really, yeah, that's true, because here we have to choose, even a subject we have to choose based on what future prospects we get. So yeah, that's not much of an option going in. So anyway, moving ahead, do you have any specific advice for students who want to pursue research further? Like how should their academic life be and what all they should do?
Okay, I think the first step is of course English, but nowadays I think the English spoken here in India is maybe much better than even in Germany, because a lot of newspapers here in English, also TVs in English, not that way in Germany. I think the important thing for the student is to have and develop his own ideas. Yes, it's important to learn the knowledge, but to learn how to learn, this is getting more important. And this is sometimes I feel also the difference. When I was in university, yes, you have your classes, but nobody asked you if you have been there or not. At the end, you had the test, and it was your responsibility. And I think this was good to develop yourself, your responsibility, your self-responsibility, not just following what the professor is telling you. And sometimes this is also a trend in Germany, not sure, maybe in India, it's more going more and more towards school. Like in the past, okay, the teacher is telling you do this and this and this, and you did it, and if you did it right, then it was okay. I think the demand for a good student is, yes, you have to do it, but you have to think one more step in advance, no more. Be more flexible and not only do what others say, but maybe also create your own ideas. To be innovative, to be creative. I think this is the key for the future success.
So thank you for your advice, sir. That was all from our side. Thank you for being here with
You're
us.
welcome. Thank you very much.
That was all. Signing out, here's Team Prism.
Thank you too.